So with this lesson, there was two major learning goals. One was the communicative goal. As this is 8th grade Spanish, they're just starting to emerge into the intermediate and are starting to form sentences and strings of sentences in order to be able to communicate with speaking. The second part was to look at practices and that intercultural component and that global component where they saw what we learned about Costa Rica and tourism and now tying it to their community.
Y en los grupos hay una o dos personas del grupo negativo y dos personas del grupo positivo. Y ustedes necesitan compartir la información en una conversación. Después de la actividad, todas las personas tienen toda la información.
So this aspect of the unit that we saw today actually is a direct product of this work, because I took a unit that I have taught for years, and it was the plan a trip to Costa Rica and talk about tourism from the perspective of a tourist. Then going through the work of learning about the pursuits through reading the book Cultivating Genius, it was an aha moment to realize every unit and everything has an opportunity to integrate students' identity and to integrate criticality. Then it dawned on me, my students live and work in a tourist community, and I'm talking about tourism without talking about their experiences experiencing tourism as residents of a city that's highly affected and dependent on that industry. The way I did it through this lesson was ensuring that students were able to experience and understand both perspectives of tourism, that there are positive impacts and that there are negative impacts. And they naturally came to the conclusion that there's a nuanced gray area where you can't say the positives are so important, we must have it, but you can't say the negatives are so important, we must eliminate it. They now see and understand that nuanced gray area in their own community.
Repeat that.
Positivos es expansión de nuestra cultura. Impacto cultura es rehabilitación y conservación de zonas públicas.
It's really eye-opening. I never thought about these different perspectives, that there could be these positives to tourism as much as there is negatives, because it's a lot easier when you're living in these towns to find the negatives in them because you see them every day and it's more irritating.
I feel that this lesson supported students' intellectual development as it really pushed them into higher order thinking. It wasn't just planning a vacation, it wasn't just reading to answer questions. It was reading with a critical purpose of understanding one side and then working to share collaboratively both perspectives and point of views of the issue. The sense of criticality contributes to students' sense of taking action in that they start to see ownership in themselves in everything. When they see multiple perspectives, it forces them to analyze their own perspective, and that oftentimes can trigger action.
So, la semana pasada hablamos sobre los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, ¿no? Los objetivos de la ONU, the UN. Y ahora vamos a comparar los impactos a los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. ¿Ok? So, lo que quiero que ustedes hagan es, y la niña voy a usar tus listas. Ustedes deben ver los impactos de tu lista y con 4 a 6 impactos escribe el impacto aquí y aquí escribe los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible que corresponden a este impacto.
I feel that this lesson connected with students' identity development because they were able to see themselves in the content. Considering even the students who may not live in Green Lake, they come to Green Lake, and the tourism of Green Lake affects even the communities around us. Due to that, they recognize they're learning about information and content that relates directly to their life. It's not just Costa Rica and the fact that I can go zip line in Costa Rica. Now they're connecting that trip to Costa Rica is analogous to people who come to my own community.
So although there are always going to be the negatives, like sometimes invasive species in Green Lake, or like the bad driving, trash, that kind of thing, but there always is going to be benefits, like pros and cons to it. And we need to learn to, I guess, dampen the negatives, clean up after, and like take care of our lake, and then do our best to use the benefits of tourism to make the town better.
If we implement these ideas, tourism isn't really a bad thing anymore. It can just help the community a lot. And I think a lot of the ideas we came across we can actually do here.
Y en tu opinión, de tu lista, ¿cuál es el impacto más grande en una comunidad? ¿Cuál es el impacto más impactante, más fuerte?
Actividades recreativas afectan la salud del medio ambiente y la cultura de zona.
Ah, sí, perfecto. So, las actividades recreativas afectan la salud de la naturaleza.
I think we're taught the method of how to learn with the language. He doesn't teach us phrases, he teaches us how to make the phrases, and that's the big difference. When we learn new vocab, we can use everything we've learned in the past and tie it together.
It's been very fun. We get carried away. Our class is really well known for getting carried away. But in Spanish, we get carried away, but we're also learning at the same time because we're still speaking Spanish. And it's one of the only classes he allows us to actually joke in.
Even if it's a unit about Costa Rica, I could say, voy a hacer tirolina in lava. I take a zip line into lava. And although that sounds weird, in my head it's funny, and we're using the vocab and we're learning from it. And I think that's a great way to teach a language.
We also have a very comfortable learning environment, and I think just because of that we want to learn more. We are comfortable volunteering, and if we get something wrong, we're not afraid to get it wrong, we're just learning more.
The learning environment is the main way to instill joy in my classroom, in that it is a comfortable space where they feel like they can be risk takers. And so when they do succeed, you see that it's a very positive experience that they like to celebrate. They're excited to create with the language, and that's not because of quizzes and tests, that's because they're getting to play. And when students are given the space to play, and students are given the space to inquire, that is where students can find their joy themselves. There are developmentally appropriate ways to push these higher level thinking skills and to push these very important skills for students. And it's made me rethink how I teach novice and intermediate low speakers. And it's made me rethink, I might have robust units, but how are they promoting higher thinking? How are they promoting identity and criticality? And so it was a good mirror to reflect upon and recognize the need, even in the lower levels, to integrate these pursuits.